Yes, it does, for sure. And I mean, we've both been married, so we both know that even in marriage, right? Like sometimes when you're creating marriage, you have to not necessarily want to be the one that's in charge or in control, all the time. So it's a co-creation.
Well, and when you try to be in control all the time, things start to backfire, don't they?
Yeah,
Oh
people don't like being
dear.
controlled. People don't like being controlled.
So before we dive in too far, I'd love to invite you over to iom.fm to call into the show. That's also where you can find replays. If you would like to come back to this show or a past show, they're all there at Om Times Radio, iom.fm. Also on iTunes, iHeartRadio, wherever you find your favorite podcasts, we're there. And if you have questions for the show as well, you can go to meetkathywilliams.com. Of course, we at meetkathywilliams.com. We won't get your show questions while we're live, but we can always bring back this topic or one like it and explore some different aspects to it as well. So you can head over to meetkathywilliams.com to submit those show ideas and questions, and also to get a free money rain exercise. So, oh my gosh, as we dive into just the idea of co-creation, Sophie, something that's been fun for you and I to do together, it also brings to mind some of those co-creations that totally didn't work. Do you have any of those?
Oh, yes. I mean, any relationship that, it ends. So like I've been married and divorced, and then I was with somebody for 4 years, and I broke up about a year ago. So those are co-creations that I would say worked for a while and then didn't work anymore. Let's see. I tried to co-host radio shows with people before, and it did not work. one of us was, like, I think you and I, it works because we see each other as colleagues. So there's not one person that has more authority than the other. But a lot of times, I guess people a lot of times put me on a pedestal. So if I try to do something with somebody who's putting me on a pedestal, then the unbalance, it just doesn't work. Let's see. Oh my gosh, what else? I co-created paintings with my kids, so I love painting, and sometimes I bring my kids into my paintings, and well, let's just say that it doesn't always turn out the way I would like it to. Although that's art, so it's a whole other story. What else?
Yeah, having a family is a total co-creation, isn't it? And a lot of the times it doesn't go your way.
I mean, very rarely, very rarely. My daughter this morning, we have a guest who is staying at the house, so the guest is sleeping in the living room. So in the morning, I try to keep my daughter a little bit quiet so our guest can sleep in. Not an easy task. And yeah, that co-creation is often failing, I would say.
Goodness. Yeah. Oh.
But I want to bring up the fact that co-creation is not just with a physical person. And for me, I co-create, my whole life is a co-creation, meaning there's usually a spiritual insight or spiritual input before I create something. And then that spiritual source will help me put that thing together, give it life. So that's where I really had to learn to co-create, because I realized it is so much better if I actually listen to that spiritual insight.
I hear ya. I think last year around this time, I had a human design reading. And it was fascinating because my friend's wife does them, and he kept saying, Kathy, I really think you should get a reading. Kathy, I think it would help you. And finally one day he said, Kathy, I'm not recommending you get a reading because my wife needs the $175. And then finally I did it, right? And one of the things she brought to the forefront of my awareness is the way I create is really by invitation. If by an invitation of the universe or an invitation of someone else, it's not by Kathy thinks this is a great class idea and Kathy's going to do it. It's really like, oh, my friend's talking about how hard it is to be an empath. And then, oh, that's a really great class, right? I put that together and that flies off the shelf.
Yeah.
And if I think like, oh, well, I think lots of people procrastinate, so maybe I'll do a class on procrastination. And then I do that and like 6 people come, right? Because it's like the universe inviting me and me just responding versus like me being like, this is a good one, let's go with this. Totally different way of creating. And she helped bring that to my awareness, and I recognized that in almost every occasion in which things work really well, it was due to me just kind of responding to life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you and I, when we came up with the topic for this week's radio show, I gave you another topic before this one, and you were like, no, that's not, we shouldn't talk about this right now. Like, it's not a bad topic, but not right now, right?
So this is where, that way, but yeah.
Well, it's fine. But no, but I really appreciate that, because that to me is co-creation. Like, one of us says, hey, let's do that. And the other one say, no, that's not going to work. And nobody gets offended. It's just cool. Let's find something else. Like, it's not a big deal, because I don't make the topics a definition of who I am. And I think a lot of times when we want to create something, if let's say we co-creating with another person, and then the other person say, well, that doesn't work for me. And we're like, oh my gosh, my feelings are hurt. Then, okay, you not being hurt is suddenly more important than the 2 people creating together. And that's where the problem is. Versus, oh, okay, no problem, we're not going to do that, we'll do something else. Then the 2 people creating together is what's important. And that's the number one key to success for co-creation is, are you willing to not take it personally?
Yes. Right? Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, and the more we can not take it personally, the more ease and flow and ideas come in, because we're not in resistance, right? If we make it about like, oh, she didn't like my idea, we're making it all about us instead of like, oh, okay, cool, right? Well, what else could we do? What would work for both of us? And that's one of my favorite questions, like in my family, with my relationship, like with co-creations in general, like what would work for all of us? Because why would I not want it to work for all of us, right? Like, yes. It's got to work for all of us.
Exactly. It has to be win-win for everyone involved. And actually, that's a business principle that I love applying that business. If it doesn't win, it's not a win for everybody. You should never enter a contract that is not a win for everybody. If one person loses, then the contract is never going to lead to something great for the people involved. So that to me is a perfect example. Never enter a non-win-win situation. Everybody has to win. Everybody has to win. Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah. Because that allows the project to grow too. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. No, I mean, I was going to say, like, there are so many examples of co-creation. So we talked about marriage, relationships, um, parenting, so family as a group, business, whether you are creating a product or you are negotiating with vendors. Um, I would say even with the body, like sometimes you're creating with your body. For me, with spirit, you create with spirit. What else? What other co-creation are there out there? What
Well,
other
I mean,
co-creation?
in general, any interaction is a co-creation, right? You're communicating something and they're receiving something. Any interaction is a co-creation, right? You're
Yes.
showing up, responding to what the other person is bringing. Yeah. Roommates, all of
Yeah.
it.
Politics. So lately, our we've been very involved in our local politics as a family lately because the school system was going to shut down some of our local schools. So the kids obviously got really upset. And as parents, what we did is we gave them a voice. So at the board meetings, instead of just the parents talking, we decided to have the kids talk and express their opinion. And that was awesome. It was a real co-creation. So the city listened to the kids, the parents listened to the kids listened to the parents, and it was really cool to see that co-creation as a city. Some of the schools had to close, but in my opinion, their choices was correct. They had to do some closing, unfortunately, but it was a good choice that they made. And so it it was really cool to see, even in politics, if you are really wanting to affect your local politics, you can. It's a real co-creation, you know? So I think there's co-creation everywhere, and we can absolutely take advantage of it. And there are some keys to making a co-creation succeed. But for me, so I talked about the not getting your feelings hurt, but that really ties into not wanting, not, it's like, okay, I know for the title I said you're no longer the hero, but really it's just not making it about you. A co-creation is really about either two people or a community of people. So if you make it about you, then it's no longer a co-creation by definition. If you're making it about you, then you're the boss and they're the employees, pretty much. So a co-creation by definition is going to require that it's not about the person, in you. And that really takes knowing who you are, which if you have worked with me, you know that is one of my favorite topics, because you cannot do anything successful unless you know who you are. So if you are willing to co-create with somebody, you've got to know who you are, right?
And be clear, and we can talk about some of the keys to that clarity and communication and all the different things required as the show goes on. And really, when we're in co-creation, it's not about us, it's not about them, even though it has to be win-win. It's really about what you're creating, the project, the outcome, the what it is you'd like to come together and achieve.
Yeah. So I agree with that, and I've worked for a company that I'm not going to say the name of the company right now, but I work for a company that is an international company and does very, very well. So they're at the top of their industry. And it's very interesting because the industry wants them to do something different. The industry is putting a lot of pressure on them to do something different. And every year they consider it. every year they look at it, and every year they decide not to do it. So their decision is actually not based on the community as a whole, but it's based on who they are and what would work best for their vision, their mission of who they are. And that is really inspiring to me, because it's the type of co-creation. First of all, when the economy went down in 2008, they were still doing really well. They did not get hit by the economy. So it is a perfect example of, okay, so people are going to get upset with you because you're not doing what they want you to do. But you're doing this for your community, for who you are, and that works. And it works better in the long term. I love it. I love it.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Following your own awareness instead of what's expected of you. So, and as we go along in the show, we'll talk about expectations and how they impact co-creation, because they do in quite a big way. Yeah.
Yeah, they sure do. And it's so, I don't know if we are going to get hit by the break or not, but knowing who you are, to me, it takes a little bit of work, because we are getting hit by the break. Are we taking a break now?
We knew it was coming at some point. All right. Thanks for listening to Sexy Mom Abundant Life, everyone. We're on IOM.fm, and we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Sexy Mom Abundant Life, everyone. It's Kathy Williams and Sophie Michelle, and today we are talking about co-creation and getting out of your own way and letting go of the need to be right, to be the person in charge and the hero. And that involves a lot of qualities and different capacities and choices. So before we jump back in, where can people find you, Sophie?
SophieMihalko.com, SophieMihalko.com. And if you go to the coaching tab, you will get all kind of possibilities, including free gifts. And I'm actually there's one up there, and there's a second one coming about how to cultivate the mindset to triple your revenue.
Oh, nice. That sounds really fun. Who wouldn't want that?
Right?
And you can always find me at meetkathywilliams.com. In fact, and that's with Kathy with a K and Williams with an S. And tomorrow I'm doing an online class about relationship cords. How to release cords, undesirable connections between you and another person, whether that's your mother, your spouse, your child, your babysitter, your whatever. And I'm doing this one because someone asked me, and someone else said, Kathy, you have the best meditation I've ever heard on doing that. So we're going to practice that tomorrow.
Wow.
And also because of the power of doing that. I mean, I learned about it initially from a Hawaiian shaman, a kahuna, and it just changed my life. It changed so many things about relationships and speaking up and codependency and all of that. And I'm excited to share that with you. So you can, and of course, it kind of plays in with co-creation, right? So you can find that class at meetkathywilliams.com/upcoming. And that's where all the upcoming stuff is, in fact, and it's like $22. It's not very much, and an amazing thing that you can use for the rest of your life. And if you can't be there live, or even if you can, you'll get the recordings right there. And then for the following 2 weeks, I'll also have a couple of other classes on the unwanted jobs you've taken on in relationship and other stuff like that, to peel that away and have some more freedom and ease in connecting with people. So all of that is
Nice.
over at meetkathywilliams.com. Yeah, my assistant really actually begged me to do these classes. I was like, really?
Wow.
Yeah, she's like,
That's
Kathy,
awesome.
you know things. She's been in my classes. She's like, you know things about relationships that people need. So I was like, oh, okay. Ah.
Very
So again,
nice.
that the idea of the universe inviting you to something and saying yes. So that was that,
Yes.
right in action.
Nice. Nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
So you were kind of telling us a little story, and then we started to get
Well,
cut off by, yeah.
yeah. So before the break, I was mentioning the idea of getting to know yourself because I think a lot of people assume they know themselves because they live with themselves every day and and they're doing self-development classes and they're like, oh, I've already asked all these questions. I know who I am. I know what I know. And I'm like, that's cool. So you're telling me that nothing pushes your buttons, right? Because basically, if something pushes your buttons, it's just that there's something unresolved in your life. And that's where I say you have to know yourself to the point where not like there are things that are going to bug you, but you will no longer have an emotional reaction to it. You'll be like, yeah, I don't like that. And that will be it. But no more, I'm going to slap this person. Like you will no longer feel like that. And when you really do the work of knowing yourself, then you can enter any kind of relationships with people you don't like, but just because you have to work with them, it becomes easier because you know who you are. That means you don't need approval, you don't need acknowledgement, you don't need to know that you've done a good job, because you know that that no matter what, you do a good job. So it makes things so much easier. For me, and I speak about it in my free gift that's coming up, but for me, getting to know you requires time with yourself, actually looking at those things that trigger you and writing it down. So I use a pen and a piece of paper, and I write down, this situation bugged me and this is how I reacted. And then asking, why did this situation bug me? This situation bugged me because my mom used to say that to me. Okay, so when my mom used to say that to me, how did that feel? What did I make it mean? And then, oh, I made it mean that she didn't like me. Okay, cool. Now we can actually get to the root problem instead of focusing on the situation. And when you look at the root problem, so many times, Kathy, it's crazy. You'll be like, that's insane. Like, no, I don't think I am an ugly duckling anymore. Because when I was a little girl, somebody told me I was the ugly duckling. I'm like, no, I don't think, no, I know that being an ugly duckling has nothing to do with how much money I'm going to make. Like, but how many of us have associated the two? You'll be surprised, right? So doing this work of getting to know you and getting to know what triggers you is really going to allow you to have no ego when you enter a relationship.
Well, and it's so beautiful because in that way, everything that triggers you becomes a beautiful gift to help you explore. Well, what's really underneath this, right?
Yeah,
And dig it up and heal it, in essence, to help it lose its significance. And journaling is an amazing tool for that. That's
oh,
one of the tools I recommend the most because you can see so much about yourself in that.
mhm.
Yeah.
And if you are spiritual, you can also use it to ask spirit for help and advice while you are journaling.
Absolutely.
So it's all good. It's all good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It just kind of uncovers what's going on inside and helps you process what's going on in the
Absolutely.
outside world as well and how you respond to that. I was thinking about some of the co-creations I've had that didn't go so well before the show.
Oh.
And just kind of looking at, in part, part of it was looking at what people would say versus what they were really capable of, right? What they would say they were going to do versus what they were actually going to do. And how the times that I've been most challenged in co-creation are when what they said they were going to do did not match what they actually did, right? And so me expecting that they were going to do it led to disappointment, right? They can't disappoint me. I can only feel disappointed because of my own expectations.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're right. You're so right.
Right?
How many hurts do we have due to expectations, right?
Way too many.
It's
Like in
crazy.
love, we do that. Yeah, if so and so loved me, they would X, Y, and Z, like my last boyfriend did. Well, not really. This person is not your last boyfriend, right? They're different.
Yeah.
Part of my hangups were people saying, "Oh, I'll do the advertising," and then a week goes by and they haven't done anything. 2 weeks go by and they don't do anything, and me not asking, "Oh, by the way, is there something you would like from me to get the ball rolling, or shall we hire it out? Or I noticed it's not getting done, so what can we do to move that forward?" Like expecting that they're going to do what they say they're going to do, and then feeling bitter and pissed off when it doesn't actually occur. And then last minute, I'm the person who has to get it done. And well, they go off to like Burning Man or something. True story.
Sounds like you have a story behind it. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Um, you know, expectations can be easily gone if we express what we need from each other, right? So that's another thing that happens in co-creation is when we co-create, it's like, okay, I expect you to do this and you expect me to do that, right? And then if it doesn't happen, or like at least we are clear on the expectations. And then if it doesn't happen, what is the backup plan? What do we do if it doesn't happen? So that communication will also help get some of the expectations taken care of if we express it. And then for me also is the character of the person. So I won't say yes to co-creation with another person unless I know their character. And what I mean by that is, are they people who follow through? Are they people who like money? Are they people who have a sense of humor? Like, if you're going to work with me, you better have those three things because I'm cuckoo. So if you have to follow through and you have to have a great sense of humor and you have to like money, cool. Now I really need to know that person's character. So sometimes I think we get into co-creation, maybe in relationships, a little bit too fast because we don't know the other person's character before we do, correct? Yeah. I know, right? Yeah. 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 For the accountant, I actually know an accountant who has a Margaritaville machine in her office, and she makes margaritas for her clients, and she uses it. I mean, she pays for it as like an office expense, you know? So, because that's her way of being fun. And just like you said, accounting is not always fun, but she, she's like, wait, I'm going to make accounting fun. So, exactly. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay. So expectations don't work, but asking yourself what, is this person or is this situation matching what's important for me, what matters to me? That is important. So we're definitely talking about two different things. Expectations, no, but knowing what is critical for you, yes, right? Absolutely. um, Sense of humor for me, it's a very big deal. If you don't have a sense of humor, I'm probably not going to get along with you. Yeah. 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 That is so key. If you have somebody do something that they don't like, it takes forever. It is not worth it. Not worth it. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, we do. We do. We do. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I look at those situations with a question of what's more important here. Is the relationship more important or the creation more important? Because sometimes, like, okay, so this person did not do what they said they would do, and bringing it up maybe the best thing to do, but going further than bringing it up could actually destroy the relationship with that person. So you really have to look at, is the creation so important that I'm going to damage my relationship with that person? And you'll be surprised, but a lot of times it isn't. A lot of times your relationship with that person is going to be more important than what gets created together. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. um it's so funny. This reminds me of something. So I was driving and making a right yesterday in the street, and this woman decided to cross the street, and she was right. I mean, she it was the perfect time for her to cross the street, except my car was coming. So she decided, well, it doesn't matter that my car is coming, she's still going to cross, right? And I know she saw me because she looked at me, and then she stopped and she made that face, like, this is the crosswalk, right? I know you guys cannot see me, but I'm like, come on, this is the crosswalk. And I looked at her and I smiled. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I let her go, no problem. I was in the middle of the intersection, but that's fine. And then I went and I was like, that doing that did not help anybody. It did not help her because she had to stop instead of moving forward. It did not help me because it didn't make me feel good. It helped nobody, except maybe for half a second she felt superior to me. Like, I was in the car, she wasn't, so she got to feel superior. But that superiority did no good to no one. And it really, how many times do we do that in life? Well, you said you were going to do that. And you're right. I said I was going to do that, and I totally did not do that. But is it really that important for you to feel superior to me, to actually point it out this way? So I really appreciate how you presented it. And like, even with my kids, I know I missed the mark so many times because we're trying to rush, and you didn't put your shoes on. I told you to put your shoes on, and all of that. And I wish we were not. Oh my gosh, yes, 14 years old, and I still have to remind them to put their shoes on. So I wish we were not rushed by time, because if we were not rushed by time, like, hey, okay, explain this to me. You're going to go outside and it's 40 degrees outside and you don't have socks and shoes on. Explain to me how that works, right? Like, do you have superpowers on your feet or something? Like, I wish I could do that more often than be like, come on, put your shoes on, like, it that's not good co-creation. The pushing somebody to do something, that is not powerful co-creation, period. Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. I wish we all had warning systems. Like 10 minutes before the show, 5 minutes before the show. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. We do. We can change anything, right, Kathy? Actually, well, actually, the only thing we can change is ourselves. We cannot expect somebody else to change. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Exactly. Well, okay. No, but I I want to encourage people to get into co-creation situations, especially if they're uncomfortable or they're, unusual things like you would not have thought about doing. Or I really would encourage anybody to do it because there is so much growth to be had from entering those co-creation situations. There's so much possibilities that you can create. So I really encourage everybody to get into those. Hmm. Yeah. 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 Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Um, yes, absolutely. Um, yes, yes. And if you want, mm, listen to like people you respect and have ask like listen to them talk about how they co-create. Sarah Blakely, who is a creator of Spanx, is one of my I guess business mentors. And she talks about how one day she was in a business meeting with lawyers to go over contracts, and she realized she paid these people like something crazy, like $250 an hour or $300 an hour. And here she was sitting with them doing their work. And she was like, this is insane. I should not be sitting with the lawyers to do their work. They should be the one doing the work. And I just put my name on it because I chose them, because I know that they'll respect what I have in mind. I That really was awesome for me, because as business owner, especially when it comes to legal documents, you're like, oh, I want to make sure that it's no. You've hired people. You've let them do their job. This is what you hired them for. Otherwise, what's the point of having them? And that is also beautiful co-creation. Is when you're like, hey, if there's a word or two in there that's not mine, that's okay. It's totally fine. It will work. Yeah. What? Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. Yeah.